The African diaspora has significantly contributed to developing and rebuilding African countries, from remittances, transferring skills, advocating for political and social causes, to promoting African culture globally. For more, Ndiho joins me in the studio with a special guest. Take it away, Paul.
Thanks, Esther. African governments can leverage the potential of the African diaspora through various strategies to help us better understand what they are and how to make them effective. Nii Simmonds, a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, a think tank based in Washington, D.C., is here. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are the expert on this subject. Why is there a disconnect between the African governments and the diaspora?
Well, I wouldn't say a disconnect. I would say when there's time to engage the diaspora, oftentimes it's around financial resources. Governments are not doing a great job to engage the diaspora for skills, technical assistance, mentorship. I think that type of engagement needs to happen more on an ongoing basis.
What opportunities are there, especially for the African diasporas, if they wanted to go back to Africa? How can they tap into the opportunities there?
Sure. You know, country where my parents are from, Ghana, they had a year return. Ghana had a great opportunity to engage the diasporas for cultural and entertainment. It was a great opportunity to engage the diaspora. So when it comes to cultural, entertainment type of things, countries can emulate what Ghana has done. Unfortunately, COVID put a kibosh to that. So those are types of things that are good. I think there is probably more work that can be done, especially when it comes to healthcare and science and innovation.
Nii, you've written extensively about diaspora issues here in the United States, but also on the African continent. You talk about how there is less transfer of skills. Maybe help explain that.
Sure. So look, you know, the three countries I always talk about when you engage the diaspora: Ireland, Israel, and India. I think for us as Africans, we could look at India example. India is now known for the #1 producer of vaccines and healthcare because of its diaspora. How do we mimic that India example? You have all these Africans in the diaspora working global health care, pharmaceuticals. How can countries engage these individuals, these professional networks, to support the growth on the continent? I think India is one great example for that.
How about when it comes to like skilled labor? We have people who are highly qualified, who are in the Western world, who perform all sorts of jobs. But when it comes to Africa, we lack. There's a little bit of a brain drain.
Sure. I'll give you one good example. Morocco had this devastating earthquake last year. Do they know who in the global diaspora had backgrounds in disaster recovery, civil engineering? You know, if you're the Moroccan embassy or consulate overseas, people go to your embassy to renew a passport or visa. Are you tracking, if you're an African embassy, how are you tracking your professionals so that if there is another humanitarian disaster, you know their skill set, their training, their professional networks, so that they can help you rebuild? It's an opportunity to use these professional networks as a force multiplier for development purposes.
When I talk to a lot of my friends back home, the only time they engage me is when they want a little bit of money. When it comes to remittances, a lot of the people in the diaspora do that. How can governments tap into that?
Yeah, well, I would say it's kind of like dating. When you're dating somebody for the first time, you're asking them to pay for your iPhone bill or your mortgage. I think when you're talking about diaspora engagement, it's a engagement that you have to build a rapport. Right? The only country I think can do it successfully, engaging your diaspora on a financial sense, is probably the Ethiopian diaspora because of their strong cultural tie. That grain renaissance understand, which Egypt doesn't like. Ethiopia needs it for electrons. I think those strong cultural ties are one example as a case study that we can say, how has the Ethiopian government done this over 20, 30 years? How can other countries look at the Ethiopia example for their own purposes?
Well, Nii, we've run out of time. Thank you so much. Nii Simmonds is a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, a think tank based in Washington, D.C. Back to you, Esther.